Hello everyone. In this video we are going to learn shades and shadows mainly in 2D drawings. Let's make a start. So firstly we should understand the old technique used to depict light, shade and shadow. In art, chiaroscuro is the process of using sharp contrast between light and shadow to emphasize the subject matter of a painting. The word chiaroscuro is Italian for light and shadow. It's one of the oldest technique used in the works of artists like Rembrandt, Da Vinci and Caravaggio. It refers to the use of light and shadow to create the illusion of light from a specific source shining on the figures and objects in the painting. In this painting, Caravaggio took chiaroscuro to the extreme, blacked out large portions of the background and brightly illuminating large foreground subjects. This combination of using high contrast with a single focus light source had an incredibly dramatic effect. So in this painting, the subjects are illuminated from a single light source coming from the right of the painting. The drama in the scene is increased by the stark contrast between the deep shadows and the warm highlights and the midtones. The light focuses our attention on the subjects seated at the table. The word sciography is a combination of two words. Number one, science, and number two, graphy. Scio is a Latin word which means shadow, and graphy is an English word which means denoting or pictorial representation of anything. So we can say that sciography is a pictorial representation of shadow which is mathematically or geometrically correct. In architecture, it is defined as a study of shades and shadows cast by simple architectural forms on plane surfaces. Now consider a light source that can be natural from sun or artificial from a bulb, showing light on an object. The portion or surface on which light is falling known as light source, and the portion or surface which are not receiving direct light from the light source known as shade surface. And the dark area where light from a light source is blocked by the object known as shadow of the object. Now we can see few examples. Observe the direction of light and shadow. Which surface is in shade? Here their stones are aligned in a curved line. Light rays of sun are coming from left side corner. The left side face of the stones are in light and the right side face of stones are in shade. The shadows of the stones are falling on the road. They start from the bottom of the stones, then gradually merges on the road. Now observe all the other images in the same way. This is the view of a building block of APJ Institute of Technology. In this image, you can see trees, pergolas, recessed box windows, etc. And you can understand the shadow of each and every element present there. Louis Kahn rightly said, architecture appears for the first time when the sunlight hits a wall. The sunlight did not know what it was before it hit a wall. In the left side image, you can see the pergolas and jali work, whereas in the right side image, you can see the trees. Again observe the sciography of the objects present in the images. Tadao Ando, an iconic Japanese architect whose unorthodox approach to the art and architecture has won him international acclaim, said in an interview that he has continuously sought to find light that transmits hope. He said, I chose simple geometries to draw delicate yet dramatic plays of light and shadow in space. So the question arises, where we need sciography in architecture? In all the three rows, same objects are there, but with the shadow only we can identify whether the shape has height, depth or the shape is above the ground. First row of objects has height, the second row of objects has depth, and the last row objects are in the air, that is placed above the ground. Here, after seeing these objects, we can conclude that shadows are parallel to the line making the shadow. When the line is parallel to the plane receiving the shadow of any plane figure on a parallel plane is identical in shape, size and orientation with the figure. Shadows of parallel lines are parallel when they fall on same plane or parallel planes. Shade and shadows are used in architecture to make drawings more easily understood by expressing both the third dimension of depth and the form of surfaces, whether flat or rounded, slanted or vertical. So here we can see sciography in different drawings. In the first image we can see the building plan with sciography depicting the height of the block. In the next we can see the site plan or landscape plan where the third dimension can be seen. In the elevation again, the sciography is showing the depth and how sciography with solids and voids create interesting facade can also be seen. We will understand this elaborately in the next slides. So let us see. Here in both the images, site is same, that has trees with the sciography. The only difference between them is that the top image do not have sciography of building, and due to which we perceive building as a shape on the contour side. But after adding shadow of the building in the bottom image, we came to know that the building has open to sky courtyards. Also the variation of heights are there in the building elements. In the left side image, green and white shapes are there, whereas in the right side image, as soon as shadows are added, we came to know that the white shapes are building blocks with different heights. That's the importance of shadows in building or site plan. In the left side image, contour site with few elements has only two dimensions. We can't guess that any element has height. But after having a look of right side image, we came to know that the elements have height. The circular green shapes are trees with different heights. Also few grey shapes are building blocks, again with different heights. So the difference between these two images is only the sciography, but the visual understanding is too different of both the images. Same is the case in these images. We can't even guess that the roof of the building blocks are pitched in the first image. The differences in two images is the same as we discussed in the above slides. This is Star of Shadows, Chandigarh, India, built in 1952 by Le Corbusier, designed to study the solar movement. This building served to Le Corbusier to support his thesis. He told it is possible to control the sunlight in the four corners of a building, play with it even in a hot country, and finally obtain low temperatures. This is the building designed by architect V.K. Jain, where projections and depressions or niches can only be understood after weighing the elevation with sciography. As the sun travels across the facade, casting alternating highlights and shadows on the surface, the dynamics of how that structure sits in the environment is an important component of becoming a respected partner in its surroundings. At night, this process is reversed and the shadows are now created by artificial light outside or emanating from the fenestration. In these side elevations of the same building, there is more of an exploration of balconies projected out of the facade. These additions of balconies as cantilever projections pushes the facade of inside to outside, thus making rooms seem larger due to more light. This counterpoint play between solid surface and cantilever can be enhanced with an understanding of how light will affect surfaces. It's the understanding of various components of light, shades and shadows that help create special spaces. We have understood about chiaroscuro, sciography, need of sciography in architecture. So what is light and shadow, which makes us understand of all these? A shadow is nothing but a dark patch that is formed when an object blocks a source of light. Louis Kahn said even a room which must be dark needs at least a crack of light to know how dark it is. When light falls on an opaque object, it obstructs the path of the light and won't let light travel further. If we place a screen behind that opaque object or place a base under that opaque object, then this dark patch is visible. This dark patch is nothing but a shadow. Without any light source, it is obvious that there is no light to obstruct and thus no shadow will be formed. Louis Kahn said, I sense light as the giver of all presences and material as spent light. What is made by light casts a shadow, and the shadow belongs to light. The profile of shadow is dependent upon the shape or form of the object, location of the object and the position of the light source. The major light source on earth is the sun, which changes its position throughout the day. That's why we observe different profile and different length of the shadow throughout the day. The shape of the shadow is dependent on the position of the shade line, the position of the observer, the direction of light, the form of the surface on which the plane of the shadow falls. Form of the surface means whether the surface is rough, smooth, horizontal, vertical, inclined, or maybe in any another way. But always remember, shadows are parallel to the line making the shadow when the line is parallel to the plane receiving the shadow. In this image, we can see there is a pendant lamp in a room, a boy and a girl are standing, and also few objects are there. The direction of light falling on each object is different. The shadow of cuboid standing in the right side top corner is on floor as well as on the wall, and in the same way the shadow of the girl standing on the floor as well as on the wall. Whereas the shadow of other objects that are cube, cylinder, cuboid and the boy are on the floor. In the same way, here in the center, a light pole is set up and radially the objects with the different forms and heights are placed on the ground. Therefore, the light angle for each object is different and hence the shadow direction is also different. Can we identify the object from the shape of the shadows? Do you think so? Yes? No. Sometimes shadow can give information about few objects, but we cannot surely identify the shape of the object from only their shadows. So here object is cylinder, but we can see its shadow in the form of square and circle. Sometimes shadows can mislead us about the shape of the object. In Sciography, we create shadows of various animals with the hand. The position of sun with respect to an object placed on our surface is defined by the solar angle, that is solar azimuth angle and solar altitude angle. Solar azimuth angle is the horizontal angle of the sun measured in the horizontal plane, which is angular deviation from the north, and solar altitude angle is the vertical angle of the sun's position in the horizon. In case of Sciography, we consider solar azimuth as unit angle 45 degree, which means light rays falling on object in plan will be on 45 degree, light rays falling on object in elevation will be on 45 degree, that is solar altitude angle. I have taken an object that is resting on ground and the source of light is sun, where solar azimuth and altitude angle are 45 degree. The direction of sunlight is shown here with the grey line, and when it touches the object, it falls in this way. The red lines shown here are the light rays. So on each face, they will travel like this. These dotted grey lines are the light rays. The portion of a building or drawing is said to be in shade, which is turned away from the assumed rays of light, or it receives no rays of light, in contrast to the sides which are in light or upon which the light falls. So when the dotted grey lines falls on the ground, after hitting the object, touches the shadow of the object's edge that are casting due to solar azimuth angle. So this is how the shadow of object cast on the ground. In multi-view drawings, we assume the conventional direction of sunlight to be parallel to the diagonal of a cube, from the upper left top front corner to the lower right rear corner, while the true altitude of this diagonal is 35 degrees 16 minutes. In plan and elevation views, This direction is seen as 45-degree diagonal of a square. This convention produces shadows of width or depth equal to the width or depth of the projections that cast the shadows. The red dotted lines are the light rays. These light rays we have to take at 45 degrees. So why 45 degrees? We had already discussed in above slides. In general, sciography is imagined from a light source as the sun inclined at 45 degrees to both vertical and horizontal plane. Constructing shadows in plan. Now take an example of cube side 3 cm by 3 cm by 3 cm, which is resting on HP 6 cm away from VP. So first of all, draw the basic orthographic projection of the object as per given the condition. And now it's time to draw sciography of the given object. Let's start it with elevation. Draw a light ray on 45 degree on point A and extend it to ground line. Now draw another light ray on point A in plan at 45 degree and extend it to the ground line to find the shadow created by point A. We have to find the intersection point of light ray of elevation and light ray of plan. So basic but very important rule is that whichever light ray strikes the ground line first will move straight in the another plane. In this particular case, light ray of point A in vertical plane strikes the ground line first. So it will move straight in the horizontal plane. And whenever it intersects the projection line of point A in plan, that point small a is the shadow of point A. Now repeat the same process for point B. Here the plane ABCD is resting on the ground. That's why shadow of the object will start from the base of the object, that is D and C. These points will directly move in horizontal plane and will be denoted by small d and small c. Now join the point small d, small a, small b, small c to get the profile of the shadow created by the object. Now it's time to have the shadow profile to get the final output. Now what if we shift the objects towards the vertical plane such that the distance between the vertical plane is 2 cm. So now the shadow will be seen in elevation. Let's start with plan. Draw a light ray on 45 degree from point A and extend it to the ground line. Now draw another light ray on the point A in elevation at 45 degree and extend it to the ground line. To find the shadow created by point A, we have to find the intersection point of light ray of elevation and light ray of plan. So basic but very important rule is that whichever light ray strikes the ground line first will move straight in the another plane. In this particular case, light ray of point A in horizontal plane strikes the ground line first. So it will move straight in the vertical plane, and whenever it intersects the projection line of the point A in elevation, that point small a is the shadow of point A. Now repeat the same process for point B. Here the plane ABCD is above the ground. Now repeat the same process for point D and C. Now join the points small d, small a, small b, small c to get the profile of the shadow created by the object. Now it's time to hatch the shadow profile. To get the final output, we can see that some portion of shadow is hiding behind the elevation of the object. There is no need to hatch the portion. This is all about the basic information of sciography. I hope it will help you. Thank you.